Alright, welcome back to the Pokemon shower thought thing. If you haven't seen the other videos, I think it's pretty self-explanatory what's going on here. I'm just talking about some weird thing I noticed, or just some random fact I came up with for every single Pokemon. So to get right into it, where we left off was at the beginning of the Kalos region, starting with Chespin. It is the only one of the three Pokemon that have the word spin in their name who does not start with the word spin. It is also one of only two Pokemon that contain the letters ESP in their name, but isn't a psychic type. Quilladin. Its Japanese name contains Haribo, and Haribo is that candy company that makes gummy bears. So based on that, you could sort of compare it to a green gummy bear, since it's kind of got that shape to it, I guess. Not really, but bear with me here, no pun intended. Haribo, however, they also make gummy frogs, which could then relate to Froakie, which is another starter in the Kalos region, like Quilladin is. Chestnut. Its category is the Spiny Armor Pokemon, which calls to mind Spiny from Super Mario. Spiny is thrown by Lakitu, who has a red shell, but sometimes a green shell. Chestnut's shell has red and green. Fennekin. It has a card where it is with Chikorita. If you take the average of their two dex numbers, you get Oshawott dex number. Together, they make up a base starter trio from different gens. Fennekin, Chikorita, and Oshawott. Maybe that'll be Legend ZA starters, except it won't because Oshawott was already used for Arceus. Anyway, Braixen. It is quite literally a fire fox, since it is a fox that is fire type. And its shiny is purple, which happens to be the color that was recently added to the literal Firefox browser logo back in 2019. Its bushy, fiery tail also calls to mind the Firefox logo, which also has that feature. Delphox. All starters are mostly male, though some of them look like they'd be mostly female even though they're not. And there happens to be one for each type, at least if you ask me, and Delphox would be the fire one, the others being Meowscarada and Primarina. Froakie. The size and shape of its head resembles the Squishland frog toy. Very, very specific. You might not even remember that is, especially if you're young, but it was some old epic quarter machine toys from back in like the 2000s kids era. Frogadier. Its eyes when the pupils are sideways resembles Gomper's eyes from Gravity Falls. Frogadier's Japanese name starts with a G, like Gomper's, and also Gravity Falls. And also, its English name starts with an F, like the second half of Gravity Falls. Greninja. It is the only Kalos starter to have cards featuring its secondary type, the only one of Ultra Rares in the Sun and Moon era of the TCG, and the only one with a form, and the only one in Smash. Bunnelby. Its Japanese name Horubi sounds like a mix of two words, being bee, which is an insect, which Bunnelby is not based on, and also Horus, which is a bird in Egyptian mythology, and Bunnelby is not a bird either. Diggersby. Its design doesn't change much from Bunnelby, so I feel like they should both be part ground type. Like, it's not like there's like mud infused into Diggersby when it evolves or something, because Bunnelby also has like brown in it, so I don't know. Fletchling. It's based on a robin, and its eye happens to resemble a robin head. Fletchinder. The two V-shapes on its tail can be put together to form a W, the letter before X and Y, which are its debut games. Talonflame. Its yellow tail pattern resembles the U.S. Army's Sergeant badge. Scatterbug. Its name consists of a two-syllable word and a one-syllable word. The same goes for the Pokemon right before it in the dex, which is Talonflame. Spupa. Its Japanese name, Kofurai, starts with Kofu's English name. Both syllables of Kofu's Japanese name rhyme with the Rai part of Scatterbug's Japanese name. Vivian. The most common letter its form names start with is M. Litleo. It and Litten are both pure fire, young feline Pokemon of two-syllable, six-letter names that start with Lit. Pyroar. It is the fully evolved version of Litleo, and Cineroar is the fully evolved version of Litten. This continues the theme as their names end in roar, and there was that whole comparison I just made with their pre-evolutions. Flabebe. Its line probably doesn't have green flowers since it would be the same color as the stem. However, green flowers do exist. Floette. When it's holding its orange flower, it sort of calls to mind Daisy holding her parasol. Florges. It is a fairy type that resembles a mermaid, even though, it's not like a water type or anything, it's not based on a mermaid. It still has that general shape. And it came out one gen before Primarina, which is also a fairy type that is literally a mermaid. Skiddo. It and Cyclozar are both called the Mount Pokemon, and both have 67 in their dex number. Gogoat. Its X dex entry sounds like it could describe Calyrex and its steed. Pancham. Similar to Kubfu, it is a pure fighting type bear that can evolve into a strong dark fighting type bear. The dex has an entry for it that also fits Kubfu as well. Pangoro. Considering it's a mostly black bipedal bear, if you look at its belly pattern, which sort of resembles like a mouth, it looks like Nightmare from FNAF. Yeah. Furfru. Its kabuki trim sort of looks like it could just be like a Pokeball-based form, because honestly that's what I used to think it was. Because also Vivian from the same generation has a Pokeball pattern, so why not? Esper. The 3 tufts of fur on its head resembles Darkrai's hand. Meowstic. Its Japanese name contains Onyx's English name, even misspelled with an I instead of a Y, even though they have no relation. Honedge. Its blue eye color and mouth shape resemble Glalie. Doublade. Unlike Honedge, its sword design is asymmetrical, but this likely is to make the two of them put together look symmetrical, as one. Aegislash. Its Japanese name sounds like it could be Galade's name. It is Gilgard. It includes Guard, which obviously Gardevoir's name does, and that's like the counterpart to Galade, so then they would both have Guard in their name. And the Gil part of it comes from a heroic character, which is sort of what Galade embodies. Spritzy. Like Fletchling, its eye resembles a bird head. Aromatisse. The only other Pokemon with ISSE in its name is Blissey, which has many similarities to Aromatisse, mainly just that they're both like bulbous, pink, cute creatures. Swirlix. Its Evo item resembles the strawberry toppings from Tart Top in Mario Kart, and also the similar toppings on Peach's birthday cake from Mario Party. Slurpuff. Continuing the Mario Kart relation, the red spot on its head resembles a balloon, calling to mind Balloon Battle. The previous mentioned map Tart Top that I mentioned for Swirlix is a battle map, meaning that it was designed to play Balloon Battle on. Inkay. Its upper half resembles a squid hat, and it is a squid, obviously. Malamar. Its name is similar to Malamar, which is a cookie that calls to mind the very previous evolution line before Malamar, which is the Slurpuff line, which is based on sweets. Binacle. The inverse of its dex number is Dracloak's dex number, which sort of has 2 bodies like Binacle does, although the second body on Draclos is just a Dreepy, so I guess it's like just a different entity. Anyway, Barbaracle. The way its fingers are curled on its head would make it resemble iRock from Mario, further supported by the fact that it's a rock type. Skrelp. It is the only water poison type to evolve into a different type. The others either don't evolve or stay the same type. Drygulge. Its body shape resembles a Z, calling to mind the game Pokemon Z, which never came out, but now Pokemon Legends ZA is. Clauncher. Its dex number plus the level it evolves is Brionne, another pure water type. Clawitzer. It has the serpentine dex shape despite having arms. It has the largest arms to body ratio of any Pokemon of that shape. Helioptile. It has a yellow triangle on its head, and then one more on each ear. Putting them together looks like the Triforce. Helioptile. Going off that Zelda connection I made for its pre-evolution, you could compare this guy to an electric Lizalfos. Tyrant. It is the first fossil Pokemon by dex number in Kalos. Its number minus the level it evolves is Bunnelby's dex number, and Bunnelby is the first regional animal, or just like early root animal, by dex number in Kalos. And I just want to say real quick, I literally stuttered that like 15 times before I got it out without messing up, and I still kind of did, but I'm not saying that again. I had to do that so many times in a row. Tyrantrum. Its dex number can be rearranged into Cyclozar's dex number. Both of them are dual-type dragons based on dinosaurs. Amora. Its Japanese name Amaris is one letter off of Amoris, which is a trainer introduced in Gen 9. Aurorus. Its crystals resemble those on Galarian Darmanitan, and both of them are ice-type. Sylveon. Its name could also work as a flying type evolution since a sylph, which it's named after, is an air spirit. Hawlucha. There is a bird based on Lucha Libre in Animal Crossing called Lucha. There's also a glider in Fortnite, and yes, I'm bringing up Fortnite, called the Libre, which has red bird wings attached to it. All of these, including Hawlucha, are related to birds and Lucha Libre, and also have red feathers. Dedenne. Its name is similar to Dedede from Kirby. Dedede is fought in Rainbow Resort in Kirby's Adventure. The rainbow part of that sort of relates to Dedenne's fairy type. Carbink. It contains Bink's name from Mario. Bink gives you the membership card in Superstar Saga when you beat his minigame. The first half of Carbink's name is Car, which is close to the word card. Gumi. It is the only Pokemon in a 3-stage line that has no regional form, but the rest of its line does. Sliggoo. Its eyes are what Gumi's cheeks look like. Some think that Gumi's eyes are actually its cheeks, since they look like Sliggoo's eyes, but its official art and images show Gumi's real eyes blinking and Sliggoo's eyes blinking, so they are different shapes, apparently. Unless the artists and the TCG and stuff just don't know what they're doing. Goodra. Swapping its syllables sounds like Dragoon from Kirby. Also, its Japanese name contains Numel's English name. Klefki. The detail on its lower body resembles a ghast tear from Minecraft. Phantom. Its stump head resembles a gyroid. Trevenant. In its official art, the two openings between its wood resemble an M and a W. Pumpkaboo. Its costume forms in Go actually account for the different sizes by scaling the outfit to match it. Gourgeist. The inverse of its dex number is Seadra. Seadra's mouth is the same shape as Gourgeist's pumpkin eyes. Bergmite. It makes sense that its shiny only changes the body underneath and not the ice because the dex describes that the ice is just literal ice and not part of its body. Avalugg. The dex says its Hisuian form puts steel to shame despite being 4 times weak to steel. Noibat. It and Noivern are the only dragon types based on mammals in their normal forms, that is. There's also Zygarde in its 10% form and Ampharos in its mega form, but I said normal forms. Noivern. It's named after a wyvern, and it actually does have a wyvern body shape, because wyverns, they're a type of dragon that have 2 legs and then 2 forearm wings, and that's what Noivern has. Xerneas. The tan designs on its chest and knees resemble the A logo in Legend ZA. This may mean something considering it is also from Kalos. Yveltal. It has some basis in, I'm going to butcher this, but Vedrfolnir from Norse mythology, whose name is sometimes translated as Wind Witherer, and these two words sort of relate to Yveltal's type. Don't know if that was intentional or not, but the wind part obviously relates to flying, and then Witherer relates to dark. At least if you ask me. Zygarde. People have compared its 100% form to a Transformer. Me personally, I think it kind of resembles the 1980s Galvatron figure. They have a similar crown-like head, a wide chest of lights, glowing eyes, and a similar foot shape. Diancie. Mega Diancie's head crystals resemble a Terraria Life Heart or a Kirby Jamba Heart. Hoopa. Its confined form is called the Mischief Pokemon. The Mischief stamp in Mario Party 3 is a black star. Hoopa Unbound has a black star-like shape on its chest. Unbound also has a similar hook-like nose and chin to Waluigi, who is the one that gives you the Mischief stamp in Mario Party 3. Also, that was like a tongue twister saying Mischief stamp. Volcanion. It is the only dual-type card in Steam Siege to not be shiny for some reason. I guess because it was like Volcanion's first time in the TCG, so they weren't going to make him shiny right off the bat. Rowlet, we're moving into Alola. It is the only base stage starter who has a final evolution that is 4 times weak to one of its types, being Hisuian Decidueye, which is 4 times weak to flying. Dartrix. Its inner wing resembles a cartoonish ghost with a leaf hat. Decidueye. Its Japanese name, Juniper, is similar to Juniper, which is Unova's professor. Hisuian Decidueye's pose sort of resembles Juniper's. A Decidueye and a Juniper card both appeared in the same set at one point, being Shining Fates. Litten. Its head pattern is the shape of Dedenne's whiskers. Torracat. The word carrot can be seen in its name backwards. Incineroar. It likely would have been fighting type if there wasn't already 3 fighting fire starters before it. Poplio. Reversing the first and second half of its Japanese name gets Mariachi, which is very similar to Mariachi. Brionne. Its category name Popstar is Kirby's home planet name. Its water type then calls to mind Aquastar, which is another planet from Kirby. Primarina. The starfish on its head may be an example of a real animal existing in the Pokemon world. Otherwise, it's just merely a part of its body or just a shell in the shape of a star, and just not a living thing. Pikipek. It and Pikachu are the only Pokemon whose names contain or start with P-I-K. Both names are followed by a vowel, then a 3-letter suffix. Trumbeak. It is the first regional bird since Tranquil to do the basic bird Pokemon wing pose. Both of them are normal flying types in the middle of their evolution lines, and the basic bird wing pose that I'm talking about is just when they have one wing out and one wing in. A lot of bird Pokemon do that. Toucanon. The yellow stripe on its beak resembles Chingling as seen from the side. Yungoos. Its Japanese name includes the E at the end. It is likely left out in English to avoid confusion with the bird known as a goose, because it's named after a mongoose which has goose in its name. Gumshoos. Its hair is similar to the shape of Daroach's foot from Kirby. Grubbin. It goes on to become an electric type. The bin in its name calls to mind the electric gym leader Lieutenant Surge's Trash Bin Gym Challenge. Charjabug. Its eyes resemble a blue Minecraft bed seen from above. Vikavolt. Its wings resemble Valerie's gym badge. Crabrawler. It's an aquatic Pokemon in a 2-stage line that is pure fighting and not water for some reason, and the same exact thing goes for Clobopus, which is from the very next gen. Crabominable. It has the most limbs of any base form ice type, beaten only by Ice Rider Calyrex, which doesn't really count because it's technically 2 dudes in one. Oricorio. The end of its Japanese name is the same as the end of Monkey Dory's name. Oricorio has a psychic type form, and Monkey Dory is a psychic type. Cutiefly. Connecting the dots of its feet in its official art makes a square root symbol. Ribombee. Inverting the brown and black of its eyes would resemble Spupa's eyes. Rockruff. Its neck ruff resembles Scatterbug's neck ruff. This marks 2 consecutive references to the Scatterbug line from completely unrelated Pokemon. Lycanroc. Only its day form lacks a shiny GX, despite being the first to get a GX of the 3 forms in the TCG. Though it wasn't the first to appear in a set, Day Lycanroc got a GX promo just a few months before Night Lycanroc got a GX in the Guardians Rising set early in the Sun and Moon era. Wishy-Washy. Yoshi's name can be seen in its Japanese name. Marini. Its crown resembles the top of a female Venusaur, and both are dual poison types. Toxapex. It is the only Pokemon with APE, or ape, in its name, not to be a monkey. Mudbray. It has BRA, or Bra, in its name. The next Pokemon by dex number to include Bra in its name is Silicobra, and both of them are pure ground types, with 1 evolution, and they are 1 gen apart. And that's kind of weird because Bra has nothing to do with ground, so that's just a coincidence by that point. Mudsdale. Its dex number plus the level it evolved from Mudbray is Drampa's dex number. Both have hair resembling dreadlocks. Dewpider. Like many arachnid Pokemon, it doesn't actually have 8 legs. However, it is the only one that is listed as head and leg shape. All others are listed as insectoid. Araquanid. Its back pattern resembles Litten's head pattern, and subsequently, like I mentioned earlier, Dedene's whiskers. Fomantis. The inverse of its dex number, and then also its dex number plus the level it evolves, are both the numbers of dual grass types, being Tropius and Tapu Bulu, and both of them start with T. Fomantis is also a grass type. Lurantis. Of the 4 Pokemon containing RANT, or Rant, in their name, it is the only non-dual type. The other 3 Pokemon all have at least 1 type that resists Lurantis' grass type. Morlul. Its head portion upside down resembles a cute skull, or maybe like an octopus, or Cthulhu head or something. Upright, it actually kind of resembles Milcery. Shiinotic. Its torso is Morlul's head, and its arms are Morlul's foot, or root thing. Salandit. It's based on a salamander, and its category is toxic lizard, and its Japanese name contains newt. Newts, lizards, and salamanders are all different things. Salazzle. It is one of very few Pokemon with a double Z in its name. The previous Pokemon by dex number with a double Z in its name is Mandibuzz, and both of these happen to be second stage dual type female exclusive Pokemon, which is very coincidental and specific. Stuffle. Both it and Rockruff are Gen 7 base stages that contain UF in their name. They're also both quadruped with a bipedal evolution. Beware. The paw print on its paw more closely resembles the print on Smeargle's back than Smeargle's actual footprint. because the print on Smeargle's back is supposed to be a Smeargle footprint, but it doesn't look like one, as I mentioned in a previous video. Bounsweet. It looks pink, but it's labeled as purple. This may be since it's based on a fruit called the purple mangosteen. Steenie. It has a similar eye pattern to Fletchling. Serena. Its eye and eyelashes look like a cartoonish character seen from the side wearing a baseball hat. Comfy. It isn't grass type even though the vine is part of it. The flowers aren't, obviously, but the dex literally mentions its vine, which is part of its body. And if it's literally called a vine, that is a plant, so it should be grass type. Oranguru. The dex mentions its connection to Slowking, another psychic type. The average of their dex numbers is Azelf, which is another psychic type. Passimian. The fruit it holds, the leaf patterns on its fur, and the coconut on its head would allude to it being grass type, but it's not. Wimpod. The pattern above its eye resembles the Dynamax symbol, even more so in its shiny form where it's red, like the actual symbol is. Glisopod. Its arm plates sort of resemble Tiki Tank from DK. Sandygast. If its shiny form was its regular form, it would be part steel type or rock type, because black sand, which is a real thing, consists of either magnetite or basalt, which is a metal, and then a rock. Palisand. The deck says there are bones beneath its sand, and it is a ground type. Marowak, which is also a ground type, has a bone club. Pyukumuku. Considering it's covered in slime, and is based on a sea cucumber, you'd think it would be part poison type, but it's not. Also, it has Muck's name in its name, and Muck is a poison type. Type Null. It's called Type Null, despite having a type. However, in the TCG, the normal type is called Colorless, which sort of fits the Type Null name better, because colorless is like a lack of color, like there is a quote-unquote lack of type. Sylvawi. It was modeled after Arceus. Both of them had a TCG figure collection featuring a figure, a promo card, and 4 packs. Minior. It has some similarity to Gordo from Kirby. The Cloudy Park Stage 3 minigame in Dreamland 3 features colored Gordos resembling Minior's red, yellow, and blue colors. Kamala. Its log looks like a mug root beer can. Turtonator. Its Japanese name Baku Games sounds like Bakugan Games. A Bakugan card features a red explosion pattern similar to Turtonator's shell. Togedemaru. It is currently the only Pikachu clone 4 times weak to ground and the only one weak to fire. Mimikyu. It isn't a Pika clone, despite its entire concept being that it mimics Pikachu, so it's literally just trying to be, or is, a Pikachu clone in a way, but not the literal Pika clone term that we know. Bruxish. The only other Pokemon with BRU in its name is Brute Bonnet. Each of Bruxish's types is weak to one of Brute Bonnet's. Water weak to grass, and Psychic weak to dark. Drampa. Its snout resembles one of Chiyu's beads. Delmise. It has Creeper in its category name, calling to mind, unfortunately, Minecraft. Based on that, it can be compared to a Drowned, because both of them are undead creatures, or ghosts, that live underwater and are covered in seaweed. Jangmo-o. The yellow heart on its head resembles a gold heart from Minecraft. And then based on that, in its shiny form, that heart is pink, which then just calls to mind the regular heart in Minecraft, which is more red, but yeah. Also, that's 2 consecutive Minecraft references on unrelated Pokemon. Hakamo-o. It is a dragon type with Haka in its name. This calls to mind the Haka Haka dragon from Dragon Val. This is the first time I've ever mentioned Dragon Val in this series so far. If you know what that is, because you might not, let me just say it's the greatest video game ever invented. And that's all I'm going to say. Komo-o. The white fur on its shoulders resembles Tyrantrum's neck fur. Both of them are fully evolved dragon types from a gen apart. Tapu Koko. It is the only electric type based on a bird that isn't flying type. Tapu Lele. Its pattern resembles the Guardians Rising set logo. That set specifically is based on the Tapus, but only has GX cards of 2 of the 4 of them, though one of them is Tapu Lele. Tapu Bulu. It makes the most sense to be called the land spirit of all of the Tapus, because they're all called the land spirit Pokemon in their categories, but just Tapu Bulu as like a grass type and like a land animal, it makes sense. Tapu Fini. It probably makes the least sense to be called a land spirit, since it's like water, and it lives in the ocean, which is the opposite of land. Cosmog. Its dex color is blue, even though the main body is purple. Cosmoem. Its category name and general design fit Solgaleo better, but its color scheme fits Lunala. Solgaleo. Part of its design is based on the alchemical lion, which subsequently gives it a connection to gold, because that's what alchemy is all about. This calls to mind Pokemon Gold and its mascot Ho-Oh, which is known as the Rainbow Pokemon, and Solgaleo is the sun Pokemon, and the sun creates rainbows. Lunala. The white detail on its chest resembles the purple portion of Golisopod's head and horns. Nihilego. The symbols on its head resemble the Terra symbol. Its rock type ties in with the concept of terastallizing since they become like a crystal. The only other Pokemon with Nihilego's type combo are Pokemon introduced in Gen 9, where terastallization was introduced. Buzzwole. It is the only Ultra Beast with a dex color that is warm. All others are cool or neutral colors. Pheromosa. Because of its thin build, feminine appearance, and being a counterpart to Buzzwole, you'd think it would be like fairy type or something to counter or just go along with Buzzwole's fighting type instead of them both being fighting. Xurkitree. Its tail resembles a Type H plug. However, its tail resembling any plug from Earth makes no sense since it's an alien. Celesteela. Its antenna resembles Buzzwole's needle. Both of them are Ultra Beasts. Kartana. Its category drawn sword Pokemon may be trying to make a pun on the fact that it's like, literally, you draw your sword, but it's paper, so like, the other meaning of draw, but technically that doesn't make sense, because it's not based on drawing, it's based on origami, so it'd make more sense to call it a folded sword Pokemon or something, but then the pun wouldn't be there. Guzzlord. Its color scheme and belly mouth are similar to Nightmare from FNAF. And yes, that is the second time in this video I'm making that connection, and both Pokemon I mentioned that for are dual dark types, so goes even deeper. Necrozma. Its black color and incorporation of the word necro, meaning death, in its name, are the opposite of an actual prism, which is usually depicted as white and symbolizing life. Magearna. It got a TCG set and movie, both with Volcanion in it. Volcanion was made for Gen 6 though, and it was held off for Gen 7 for some reason. Marshadow. It was the first mythical to appear on a pack art in the TCG Sun and Moon era. Poipole. Its head seems to become what Naganadel's abdomen is, and I completely messed up Naganadel's name, honestly. I've never even tried pronouncing it before, so just pretend that made sense. Naganadel, or Naganadel, its category is shared with some of the Nidos, all of which start with N, like it does. Stakataka. Its square bricks resemble the bounce pads from Pack and Roll, which is an extremely obscure reference, but I just happened to notice it. Not sure if anyone's even going to know what I'm talking about, but I might be able to find some random blurry picture that happens to maybe exist to show what I'm talking about. Blacephalon. Its hands resemble the inside of a cat's eye marble, making its head subsequently resemble a marble since it's a sphere. Zeraora. Its alt art card shows it in the Crown Tundra, suggesting it's available in the Sword and Shield DLC. However, you can't actually get it in the DLC, but you were able to move it in from Pokemon Home. Meltan. The deck says it is made of molten steel, which is also what Heatran is made of. So because of that, you'd think they'd both be Steel Fire type, but only Heatran is, and Meltan is not. Melmetal. Its name backwards is Late Molem. Its dex number backwards is Meowscarada's dex number. Meowscarada is a cat Pokemon that appears very late in the Pokédex. Molem, and as I said, Late Molem, the Molem part you might be thinking that's not a word. Well, it's not, but it's like a modern slang word that refers to the sound a cat makes when they lick their lips. And since Meowscarada is a cat, that goes with it, and Late Molem, it is a Late Molem in the dex. And now we move into Galar with Grookey. Its nose kind of resembles Chargin' Chuck's face from Mario. Thwackey. It has yellow eyes, but its evolution doesn't, strangely. However, Inteleon, the water-type starter final evolution from the same gen, has yellow eyes, and its pre-evolution doesn't, so it's sort of like they got mixed up. Rillaboom. It is the first Pokemon by dex number to have a deck called the Pokemon's name, followed by theme deck, because starting with Sword and Shield, they just got really lazy with deck names and stopped doing cool names like they did. Then again, that's kind of everything these days. You could describe that with, they just got really lazy. Scorbunny. It has the most circular eyes of the Galar starters. Raboot. Its head upside down looks like a weird smiley face. Cinderace. It's obvious that they resisted making yet another firefighting type starter, as its dex mentions it being a fighting spirit, and its category is the striker Pokemon, and also it just literally looks like it would be a fighting type. Perhaps a combination of laziness and not wanting to make another dual firefighting type is the reason why all the Galar starters are not dual types. Sobble. Both it and Squirtle are base stage water type starters based on reptiles of two-syllable names starting with S and ending in LE. Drizzile. It is the only water starter with green in its color scheme. Inteleon. Its G-Max form resembles the Spire from Fortnite. I hate that I keep making Fortnite references, but yeah. Skwovet. It evolves at level 24, and in the Galar Dex, it is number 24. Greedent. It has the most ultra rares of any regional rodent, despite being the newest one by Dex number. Rookity. Of all the Pokemon of the category Tiny Bird, it is the only one whose final evolution has a different type from it. Corvisquire. It has VIS in its name. There are only two other Pokemon that have those three letters in their name like that, and they are both also from Gen 8, being two of the fossils. Corviknight. It is the only member of its line whose pupil does not overlap with its eye spot. Blipbug. It looks like it would fit better in Grubbin's spot than Grubbin itself. It has similar eyes to Charjabug and similar colors to Vikavolt. Dottler. Its official art only shows 2 legs, and only one card actually shows that it has more than 2 legs, because it indeed does have more than 2 legs, even though it doesn't really look like it. Orbeetle. The blue lines on the bottom of its G-Max form resembles Kyogre's fin patterns. Nickit. It and Thievul are the only non-fire types known as the Fox Pokemon. Thievul. Its Japanese name Foxley is similar to Foxy from FNAF. And I also hate that I keep making FNAF references, but here we are. Foxy is a pirate, and Thievul is a thief. And thief and pirate are pretty much synonyms. So anyway, that's going to be all for now. Honestly, this series went a lot faster than I thought it would, just because of how much stuff I have written down for this. Like, in the journal that I scribble all of my scripting stuff down in, this whole series takes up like 30 giant pages of just endless writing. Maybe even more than that. At the pace I'm at, next week will be the last video, if I can try and get that out in one. It might be a kind of long one, but I should be able to do it. And then I'll move on from there to whatever comes next. But for now, if you like this, consider liking and subscribing and commenting. And thanks for watching.